Oh no, it's no, I don't, not that Panther stuff. No, thank you.
Have a pretty low bar there.
I'll drink to that.
Hi,
Hey, Mike.
Ann, how are you?
Mike,
This meeting's
That
out
was
of control. We haven't even started yet.
I
That was
know,
a
but we're
joke.
having a great
I
time.
heard.
I just want to say, Mike, I don't know if it was you, but whoever said that the flotilla commander should be at your guys' levels meetings, I think would be a benefit to all of us. Literally, because there's so many times things get dropped out of the loop that never get passed down. And, you know, and it's sad. So to be honest with you, it's like cool hand Luke. I don't want to have that I don't want to have a failure to communicate. I'd like to have too much communication, and let me sort it out.
And
We're
you know,
trying.
Don, when that happens, what I've noticed is that I'm new at this, but what I've noticed is that when the pass downs don't occur at the flotilla level, then we're discussing them again at the division meeting, which makes our meetings too long. So I'm going to be making some changes so that people are held responsible for passing them down.
And what are you going to do? Take away a ribbon?
Yeah, there's a good point. It's still volunteer, isn't it?
That's all volunteers. That's the whole thing, my friend.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, what we started doing at our division is we went ahead and created a PowerPoint for all of our pass down information, both from division and then down to the flotilla level. And so we then post that out to all the flotilla commanders, and I've noticed several of them are now forwarding it onto their membership. So they're getting information at least somehow.
Yeah, I know my flotilla meetings, I put down all the pass downs I have heard or seen all the way from headquarters Coast Guard all the way down to the division level and everything in between. And then I give everybody opportunity to add to it if I missed anything on that. So.
Well, Mike, you're a little more in depth than I am. I just, whatever I get from Jim, I pass down to then I ask for comments at the flotilla.
You do.
I want to comment on it.
Right.
But to regurgitate what's, I'm sorry, that makes my flotilla meeting too long. And
yeah.
So whatever works for you, Wayne.
Yeah, no, yeah, you agree. It can, but you know, like I said, I'd rather have too much information than not enough.
Well, you know, I'm part of the expression. I hope we're all over 18 and people can read and write, but you know, things do happen.
Yeah.
We still had social promotions when I was a kid, so.
As long as we do not get treated like mushrooms.
But that's one of the problems, my friend. We need to discuss that, literally. We are being treated like mushrooms. And I don't know how we're going to prevent it.
6 o'clock.
You know, it's kind of funny. I think about things that we discuss at national staff at my job at national, so I kind of expect things to come down, and then I sit there and I find it kind of odd sometimes when none of that information is making it down to the flotilla, or in some cases the division or district.
Well, I felt that open invitation for us to look at national level, be part of that presentation meeting, I should say. That was a great insight for me. But you're right, things are not getting passed down. And I don't know, I be honest with you, I am very frustrated about it. And that has been mentioned several times way back in 2008. I think he was a commander now, Matthew Doris, Wayne. Mm-hmm. His white paper for the War College about the auxiliary. Remember that?
I do.
Yeah, that was actually his.
Sorry, who's that speaking?
It was Wayne. That was his thesis for his
right thesis,
Naval Postgraduate School, U.S. Navy Postgraduate School out of Monterey.
Right.
I'm going to jump in here.
Communication was one of the major things then.
It's 1800 hours. And I'd like to get this started, but before we do, Commodore Harshfield, can you tell me if Charlie Geiger's on and got him?
We don't see him.
He's not on the participants list, Boz.
All right.
See,
Rick?
let's give him a few more minutes.
Oz, I called him and left him a message.
All right, thanks. Well, since it's a
All
meeting,
right.
we'll give a few more minutes, yeah?
I will have to find that patch that I have that dates from the Vietnam era. KITBFOHS. Over the mark.
You're dating yourself, you know that. You know, you're speaking to a Vietnam era veteran, not a veteran of Vietnam. I know what you're speaking of.
You have seen the patch that I'm referring to regarding
long
the
time ago.
Sante raid. I've got one.
Well, yeah, what you're trying to do is put it up on the wall back there.
What I have on my wall behind me is a
I see
flag
it.
that flew over the Arizona Memorial.
Right,
My shadow box is an auxiliarist.
right.
And what I like to do is I like to present that shadow box to an outgoing flotilla commander. This is my second tour, second year as flotilla commander.
Yeah. I as well. I am number second year as well.
Did you just step on a cat?
Somebody did.
That is a Chihuahua that wanted attention from me.
Uh,
I have a dog and a cat. The cat outweighs the dog by 100%. 7-pound Chihuahua, approximately 15-pound cat.
So we know who rules the roost.
As it's been said, cats rule, dogs drool.
hey,
Commodore
Paul.
Harshfield, do I understand we are now being recorded?
Hello, Ann.
I just want to make sure we're being live recorded now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Commodore, I like the moon behind you there.
Thank you. That's actually the first picture I've seen of Phoenix. I can get them from every other major city, but I finally got a decent one of Phoenix for a change.
You know, unfortunately, the Zoom software for my iPad doesn't allow me to put background pictures like that. Otherwise, I've got some really nice sunset ones and beach ones and everything that I've taken myself that I'd like to put up.
Yeah, but your bunker thing really looks good.
Well, you know, I have that up for sound deadening, so I don't have an echo.
Well, that's okay. I still like it.
Now, the bus is here.
I'm going to say, go ahead and get started, Boz.
All right, well, let's, Rick Ebel, Chief of Staff, I'm gonna let you get this meeting started and on behalf of Charlie and get done whatever you think needs to get done, and I'll start teaching when you say go.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. very appreciative of all of you, not only division commanders and vice division commanders, but those leaders at the flotilla level, flotilla commanders and vices that have been able to attend tonight. We thought that we would like to start including our deck plate leadership on some of the activities that we're doing here with our district elected leader academy that we do once a month. So again, welcome. Boz will be doing some leadership leadership presentation, which will be part 2 of what we did last month. So anyway, I'll turn this over to Boz right now. And again, thank you all for being here. Oh, one last thing. Everybody, please mute your microphones. Thank you. Go ahead, Boz.
Great, thank you, Rick. And welcome everybody. All right, so I'm gonna steal the screen here, Mr. Hartsfield. Let's bear with me here. Something's huh. There we go.
Find it?
Yeah, let me know when you
Yeah, you're in control. I made you a co-host.
All right, can you guys see the slide there?
Yeah, Boz, you're up.
Yes.
Okay. All right, very good. Let me clean my screen up here. All right, great. So first of all, thank you again for everybody for joining us. As you gathered, this is a part 2 of a 2-part series. And let me just make sure I'm on the right slide here. I am. Terrific. So we've got 2 audiences tonight. We've got folks that were with us last month, and some folks that that missed last month or are now invited to expand the group this month for part 2. So we sent out the link on YouTube. I'm hoping that you all had a chance to look at part 1, so that we kind of step into this with some. Can we get some background feedback? Can we get everybody muted, Chris? Thanks. But what I will say is these 4 sections, empowerment, motivation, peak performance, leadership styles, really stand on their own in terms of a discussion topic. I like the sequence of them for this discussion around enable others to act. But if for some reason you couldn't get to, or you haven't looked at part 1 yet, I would encourage you to do that still after tonight. It will still all make sense. It doesn't necessarily build on each other. They're kind of 4 pieces to the puzzle, and those are the first 2 pieces of the pieces that you missed. Let me do a little recap. It's been a month for the folks that sat down with me last time, and for those of you that this is all new to, let me just quickly kind of go through what we discussed last time to bring kind of ground you a little bit and bring you back up to date. After the initial personal introductions, we talked about a couple of things. First is this notion of extraordinary results, and that graphic of the piece of coal turning into diamond is meant to represent that. And that's really what enabling others to act is about, really achieving some type of a result or superior result by an individual or your team or your group or your unit. And in order to achieve that, it requires true collaboration. And we talked a little bit about the difference between collaboration and true collaboration and what that means. And that's really a prerequisite for extraordinary results. And to get that true collaboration and that kind of a team cooperation and energy, that really requires relationship and trust. So that's what those 3 graphics are for, is it's just a reminder. And that's kind of the sequence of things that we wanted to drive home up front, to know that there's a prerequisite there to get the kind of results we hope you're striving for. Now, that's all fine and good, and I think relatively obvious. At least I hope it is. But there's tactical stuff that needs to be done for this to make this happen. And the 4 pieces to that are empowerment, motivation, peak performance, and leadership styles. So that's what we really focused on in this discussion. Those are the 4 components that need to be there, along with that notion of trust and collaboration to get to the results we're hoping you're striving for. So the rest of the discussion is really focused on those 4 things. And last month we spent some time on empowerment. Really, we asked the question, how do leaders make others feel powerful? And in order to answer that question, we asked another question, and to think of a time when you felt powerful. Someone made you feel powerful. And what did they say or do to make you feel that way? We broke up in breakout sessions and shared some personal stories on how that happened. And so we could all learn from that. And the negative case can be just as instructional. We asked you to think about times when someone made you feel powerless. And what did that person say or do to make you feel small or insignificant? And to learn from that so that we can incorporate lessons from that perspective into your leadership style. Because empowerment's a big deal. That's a critical component to this notion of enabling others to act. The majority of our time last month was spent on motivation. And we talked about, or at least we recognize there's a lot of motivational theories out there. And the one that we chose to focus on is one by Daniel Pink. We showed you a video. That video really outlined, I think, in a pretty succinct manner, the 3 components that his theory suggests need to be there for someone to not just be motivated, or for you to help as a leader to strive for that or deliver on that motivation: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And we double-clicked, drilled down in each one of those. And specific to purpose, which is what I think is where you need to start in this whole process, we referenced Simon Sinek and the Golden Circle. And I'm guessing probably half of you folks have already seen this. If you haven't seen it, it's an excellent 14-minute investment into your life, not just for the Coast Guard, but I think all things business and home from that perspective. And he talks about, the title of his TED Talk is How Great Leaders Inspire Action. And that was delivered in 2009. There's over 5 million visits on that talk in its own right. Has become a mainstay both in the academic world and the business world around motivation and delivering on leadership style. So that kind of brings us up to date. Today, we're here to knock off the last 2 of these pillars: peak performance and leadership style. The other thing I left you with last time was, if anybody wants to take a crack, now's your chance on pronouncing this gentleman's name. Anybody want to give it a go? No takers? All right, this Mihai Csikszentmihalyi is a social scientist. He studied peak human performance at the University of Chicago. Very well respected guy in this particular field. As you can see, he's got a best-selling book called Flow, or the Psychology of Optimal Performance. And this is another one of those texts that has been widely adopted both in the academic and business world, and really kind of puts a little bit more of a science behind and a sociological perspective on defining flow, or what it is to define the intersection of happiness, challenge, and skills. And some of you might recognize this as being in the zone. And that's a very, very similar concept, but this is kind of where it got started. And really what he found out was that we're at our best when we find the right balance between factors of challenge in the task and our skill to perform those tasks. So we're going to spend a little bit of time drilling down on this. I've got a 3-minute video that I'm going to attempt to show you here, and I'll let him speak on his behalf, or on his own behalf. Bear with me here 1 quick second. And this is just about 3 minutes long is all. And I'm going to start it at minute 3:20.
This is typical result that many people have presented, and there are many variations on it. But this, for instance, shows that about 30% of the people surveyed in the United States since 1956 say that their life is very happy. And that hasn't changed at all, whereas the personal income on a scale that has been held constant to accommodate for inflation has more than doubled, almost tripled in that period. But you find essentially the same results, namely that after a certain basic point, which corresponds more or less to just a few $1,000s above the minimum poverty level, increases in material well-being don't seem to affect how happy people are. And in fact, you can find that the lack of basic resources, material resources, contributes to unhappiness, but the increase in material resources do not increase happiness. So my research has been focused more on, after finding out these things that actually corresponded to my own experience, I tried to understand now where in everyday life, in our normal experience, do we feel really happy? And to start those studies about 40 years ago, I began to look at creative people, first artists and scientists and so forth, trying to understand what made them feel that it was worth essentially spending their life doing things for which many of them didn't expect either fame or fortune, but which made their life meaningful and worth doing. This was one of the leading composers of American music back in the 70s, and the interview was 40 pages long, but this little excerpt is a very good summary of what he was saying during the interview, and it describes how he feels and composing is going well. And he starts by describing it as an ecstatic state. Now, ecstasy in Greek meant to stand to the side of something. And then it became essentially an analogy for a mental state where you feel that you're not doing ordinary everyday routines. So ecstasy is essentially a stepping into an alternative reality.
All right, so I'm gonna stop it there. I wanted Mr. Csikszentmihalyi to introduce this idea that is really the background that gets to this book and this concept around flow, and finding that ecstasy state is maybe a reach or a tall order for the auxiliary, but there is a notion of certainly we're not here for the paycheck. We are here to do good. We're here to feel worthwhile, and you should find some happiness in that, if not ecstasy. And this is very close in order with developing people and people going through a growth cycle. So that's really why this topic is embedded in here. So let's talk about this concept of flow and get a little more tactical. You'll see that there's a two-dimensional matrix. As a management consultant, we love our two-dimensional matrices. So this should be familiar to y'all in the business world. And this flow state is where you've got challenge and skill, balance. And I want you to entertain outside this flow lane where you've been challenged in the past in a significant way, but frankly, just didn't have the skills or the background to deliver. And how did that make you feel? So, and we have that ability to make our members feel that way when we ask them to do something that they're not equipped to do, that they either don't have the mastery or ability to do. So that's not a great place to be. There's a lot of anxiety associated with being out in that upper left-hand corner. And I want you to recognize that. The opposite of that is when you've been asked to do something that's frankly not a challenge at all. and you have more than enough skill, or maybe be an expert in this particular field. You know, how does that make you feel, right? That's people get quickly get bored with that. There might be some comfort because you can deliver on that promise, but there's very little to no growth going on. So people don't get happy, don't find ecstasy in the lower right side of this page as well. So let's talk about, refresh your screen, what this looks like. Now, if I overlay that this map on what I just showed you, if you're not in that flow, you're going to end up experiencing these types of emotions. So we talked about in that upper left-hand corner, high challenge, don't have the skills to bring to the table. People worry, people get anxious in that zone. Likewise, in the bottom right-hand corner, maybe you'll be relaxed about it because you know you can nail it, but you're going to get bored, and there's no development going on. No one's going to be happy with that. Worst case, you end up in this zone of apathy, and that's basically people just simply have checked out. Now, normally, what we would do in a classroom environment to accentuate this point, I would have you. I would break you up in groups. I would give you a puzzle to solve that I knew very well you wouldn't be able to. It would be very challenging. You had never seen this before, ideally, and simply weren't bringing any experience or skills to the table. Immediately, and then I just leave you. I wouldn't give you any direction. I wouldn't give you any kind of help. Let you just survive on your own. And more often than not, people tackle this thing and get frustrated at the beginning. Very few, if ever, do officers or corporate executives that I do this with find them in the apathetic corner, because that's just not their makeup. But typically they immediately feel worried, and they're worried that they won't be able to succeed. They won't be able to master this dopey little puzzle in 30 minutes with 5 or 6 of their partners. So the travel here, or the journey that these folks would go on, and it's unfortunate we can't do this in person, because it really does, these emotions really drive home this idea of flow. But the journey that this group goes through over 30 minutes or 45 minutes is they start out in this worry state. They try a few things, they fail miserably, and then they kind of start building some skills and see into the exercise a little bit, and begin not to worry so much that they can't achieve it. They start getting anxious that, oh my God, maybe we can get close, but we may still fail. We've got a long ways to go on the skill front. Another 10, 15, 20 minutes later, they're starting to develop skills. In essence, they're turning that proverbial corner, and they move from anxiety. They recognize the challenge better. They understand the puzzle better. They're developing skills, and they move out of anxiety into arousal. And that arousal feeling is, I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and maybe we can, solve this problem. And there's an excitement to that. And ultimately, you find yourself in that, ideally, in that flow state, or in that zone where you've stepped up to the challenge. You're doing something that's quite difficult, and you develop the skills to match that challenge. And that feeling of euphoria or ecstasy, not to overstate it, is what this whole flow idea is about. Now, unfortunately, in Zoom, we can't do that. So hopefully I walked you through that, and you can appreciate what it would have been like if we did. So let me kind of come back and talk about this in a little more tactical or auxiliary applicable scenario, where this concept of growth, what growth looks like, and this idea of flow or zone, is a great tool for you as leaders to manage your folks. And what you're trying to do is keep them in the parameters of this flow lane, and hopefully not let them get overwhelmed with the challenge and end up in that upper left-hand corner, or give them something that has no challenge to it because of their background is going to be a boring exercise. But to the extent that you can provide them, a small stretch goals, let them develop and get into flow, set up another small win and let them develop their skills to get back into the flow lane, is really kind of that concept of stretch, develop, and flow, stretch, develop, and flow. And this notion of small wins, really a very powerful concept around personal growth on an individual level, as well as groups that you're managing, or perhaps your entire unit. So I think this is a powerful concept. And while we call it peak performance, it's really as much about personal and growth and unit growth and your ability to manage people, through that process of meeting tough challenges with skills that they may or may not have at the ready and that they need to develop. Let me stop there. I know we've got 37 people on board. I didn't want to spend a lot of time on this topic because there's a lot more meat to leadership styles, but I do want to pause for a moment and ask anybody if you've got any questions. And if you do, raise your hand and maybe Chris can help me get you guys unmuted. So I'll just leave it open here for a few minutes. Okay, hearing, I do see a hand now. Anthony, you want to unmute yourself? Fire away.
Yeah, when you mentioned there, when sailing Flotilla 4-3, when you mentioned there the fear of failure and stuff and everything, I've always looked at it as a chance for future accomplishments. Always reflecting on the idea that Thomas Edison, look how many failures he had on coming up with the correct filament for the light bulb, but yet he continued on. And when he was asked at one time, but you had so many failures, and he says, well, those things I never have to duplicate. I just realized that doesn't work, and I could go in another direction. And I needed to look back and repeat what I've already done.
Yeah, I would love to have a flotilla full of Thomas Edisons, but and you're right. These are the right attitude. You don't need this chart. In fact, you don't need a lot of leadership. You can autonomously head out and make great things happen. I think the reality is most of us have units or businesses or groups of people that we might be leading that need to be led through this process. And what I'm suggesting here is this is a framework that might help you do that.
Well, this is Don, Flotilla 4-6.
Yes, sir.
I have a problem. I have supernumeraries, and I don't care what you say or do. They're just placeholders, and they just send in their annual dues and leave me alone. How do you, pardon the expression, get them off the dime?
Yes. So a couple of things come to mind. And I know you listened to our last discussion, and I think I talked about the white paper that was developed. 80% of the folks, we're an 80-20 organization, right? Where 20% of the people actually get stuff done. And those 80% are people who want to be affiliated and aren't going to do anything. One of the things that I'm encouraging my division commanders to do, and what I've done in the business world as well, is the folks that are underperforming, and in your case, not doing anything at all. A one-on-one personal touch could go a long way. And specifically, and I can provide you a short script if it's helpful, but ask them why, in the spirit of Simon Sinek and the goals, why are you here? And really understand what motivates them, and understand if they've got time to get something done here, but understand, what gets their juices going. And, chances are no one's ever asked them that, first of all. Second, some of these folks maybe never even thought about it. They just wanted to join just for the sake of joining. But having that discussion and kind of forcing a result to that will not only give you, a hint on how to motivate these people, but hopefully it'll get them to think about what they can do and do more. Granted,
I tried, and I'm sure you've heard of it, the old GAR and the SWOT surveys, and I send it to every person. And I had 19 surveys sent out, and you want to know how many I got back? I won't even tell you how many I got back.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's frustrating.
It's frustrating.
I hear you.
And I do that even when I was in still 4-9 as a vice flotilla commander. We sent it out, and we had like over 23 people, and we had a very, talking about the 80-20, 20% of the doers sent their back, and I even sent out a follow-up saying, please, this is like an election. If you don't vote, then you can't complain.
Right.
And it was still, as a leader, all you can do in a volunteer group is, put things out there, put agendas out there, and all they can say is or ah.
Yeah, it's humbling.
Yes, it is.
I'm there, and probably like you, I didn't grow up in a volunteer organization. I grew up in a very succinct command and control kind of environment, and you're up or you're out. And people got stuff done based on now that doesn't mean you didn't develop and collaborate, do all these good leadership things, but that's not necessarily the automatic culture here. It should be and it can be, but I think the bottom line is, and what I've had to swallow is some people aren't ever going to do anything. But I will challenge you this: if you're willing to give this a shot, I've got 5 questions that I came up, and I call it the why campaign. And to sit down with somebody, ask them these 5 questions, and it's all about kind of why are you here? And my guess is, half of those folks that you talk to, you take time to do this with, will do something, or at least you'll have a much better insight, and you'll get something out of these folks. Is it going to work for everybody? Absolutely not. I'm not.
I'll be honest with you. I did ask a few of them, and you know what their reason is? Their name will appear on the marker besides their gravestone.
Yeah. And that's if that's all they're here for, then that's fine. We're not here to, conduct miracles. But I do think there are a lot of folks out there that just don't know what is out there for them and available to them. And unfortunately, I don't think we as leaders ask them, why they're here, so we can help them get into a slot and they get excited about. But maybe
would you please email that to me? You said there were 5 questions?
5 questions, yeah.
Yeah, if you'll email that to me, please. Maybe all of us would love to get it.
Sure, I'll be happy to do that. And I would love to hear back, if you choose to pursue it, how it went for you, so I can get some feedback and learn from this. But I've had pretty good success with it personally, but it's a small sample set. I would love to hear, if you do this, how it went. It's not going to hurt, right? It's not going to hurt anybody's feelings, or might be time you could use otherwise. But as a leader, this is a good investment.
Well, as Chick Hearn used to say, no harm, no foul.
He also said the mustard's off the hot dog, and that could happen here too.
I think we could all benefit from that. Yeah, absolutely. If you could please send that to all of us, that would be fantastic, sir.
All right, I'll do that. That'll be my takeaway. And go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Rosario, I see your hands up. You have something you'd like to ask or share with the group?
Yeah, thank you, sir, for calling on me. I just wanted to add from 1111, and what we've been trying to do over the last couple of years is really stick to that individual development plan that the auxiliary asks us to do with new members. And as soon as we start to see a member that is not as engaged, kind of go back, and that gives us a chance to reevaluate what their interest is and what their motivation is in the organization, and kind of help tailor, because when we each start in the auxiliary, we have an idea of what the auxiliary is or what we want to do. And over a year, 5 years, 10 years, even 20 years with some of our members, that idea of what motivates us changes. And so an opportunity to kind of review that development plan. Hey, what gets your fire burning? What gets you waking up in the morning has helped re-engage some of our members. Thank you, sir.
To me, that's great. And that's a testimonial to this notion of a why campaign. So good on you for doing that. And you raise a good point. We're in a very different space, potentially 5 years ago than we will be 5 years from now. And maybe you have family commitments that have kept you from, engaging the way we'd like to see you engage. And maybe that's temporary, or maybe you just need a year or two to kind of get your stuff sorted out. So that's all good to know. If we don't know that, we can't do anything about it, nor can we offer any help. So I just can't stress enough how important that taking the time for a 5-minute phone call can be to somebody. And I hope someone's done that for you at some point in or out of the auxiliary. And if they have or not, I highly encourage you to do that for them in your leadership role today. And I can't see all the hands, Mr. Commodore Harshfield. If you can help me here. If there's anyone else that wants to say anything, we can do that now.
Anthony? You got your hand?
Is Anthony frozen? There he is.
No, I still, we already answered that question. Stefan thinks, I guess it was
Okay.
left up.
Yeah, you're the only one. I see.
All right, great, thank you. So I didn't want to cut this short, so I appreciate you sharing what you did here. I think this is it's an easily understood topic, but there's a lot of potential here. And the tactics of executing this is important. There's someone out there who
Are
wants
you
to
guys
say?
able to hear me?
Yes. Who's this?
Okay, I'm on a phone, so I don't know how to raise my hand via phone. Question I was going to have is the 5 whys questions that you're talking about. Are they similar to like the standard 5 whys when you're trying to get a root cause analysis?
No. So what I tried to, I know what I'm familiar with what you're talking about. No, I tried to really stylize this more around the Coast Guard Auxiliary and trying to, role play my discussions and prepare for my discussions with my members. So I'll send that out. Again, take a look at it. If you think you'd like to try it or it'll work, great. Please give me feedback. If you do, if you think it's if you got some ideas for improvement, man, send those to me as well. So we're all here to help each other.
Rudy.
Cortez, I see your hand up, sir.
Yes, just, to add and share for the group and the team as far as knowledge is that sometimes as a leader, you got to, learn to pick your battles. I know the flotilla commanders, when they reach out to these members, like you said, that they're very, very, low activity, if any activity. And sometimes, they reach out to them, they talk to them, and they have other priorities. You just got to let them be in that case. It could be family issues or business issues, whatever the case is. If they don't have the time for bringing the auxiliary to a high level of priority at the moment, it doesn't mean it won't change later on. Just got to continue to check up on them. And that's the importance of having mentors to do the follow-ups.
Yeah.
And shouldn't dwell on them, but the ones you make contact with, you do what you can, then you move on. Because if you stay dwelling on them, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, copy that. Fair enough.
Bob, Paul Saab again from Division 11.
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
So yeah, I was kind of wanted to dovetail. I think leadership in a volunteer organization versus leadership in most career fields, the auxiliary is a very diverse group of people that come from multiple different walks of life with different backgrounds, ambitions, and unique skills and abilities. Whereas a lot of times when we're in the workplace, we tend to be yes, we still have a diverse workforce, but we tend to be very like-minded. We're all in IT, or we're all in, public service, or we're all in some type of career field. I think auxiliary leadership and leaders in the auxiliary need to recognize the fact that because the motivational factors are different, we need to be more cognizant of the way we treat people, the more cognizant of the way we reward people, and the underlying, good Lord, can't get my mouth to work today, the underlying motivational factors that drive that individual to participate in the program. And it just seems like there's a level of apathy out there right now. Some of it, I think, is age driven because people have done a lot of tremendous service. They're at a period in their life where they're getting ready to retire and move on. And then we have other members that have completely different motivational drives that the auxiliarists, there's a disconnect between some of the leaders and some of the members at the deck plate level. That's just from my outside observation.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And I tell you, on a personal note, it took me a few years to get my head around how to operate effectively in a volunteer organization. It's a very, very different beast from, a normal career world, regardless of where you came from. So I want to be mindful of your time. It's about 45 after. The next topic is a little bit more meatier, and I think you'll enjoy it. But I do want to take a break now and give you about 10 minutes. I've got 6:42 on my clock, 18:42 Pacific time. So if we can reconvene at 52 minutes past the hour, then we'll get going here and hopefully get out a little bit early. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in 10.
Mike, boss,
Yes.
did you ever see this? Working with millennials?
I want to say yes, but the cover doesn't look familiar to me.
If you get a chance, it's only about 21 pages, but it kind of gives you a hint of how to, with the millennials coming on, some of them are thinking about joining the auxiliary. So I recommend that you might get a chance to peruse it.
Thank you. I'll look for that. I've got some strong opinions around the diverse groups that we do work with age-wise, and right now we're not built for taking on young folks. And
no, we are definitely not, and we have a tremendous amount of work practices that we need to accelerate and work through, because the younger crowd don't have the patience that a lot of us have and expectations.
No,
I'm gonna
correct. They want instant gratification.
Break. I'll be back in just a few, guys.
Well, we can continue on without you. Goodbye.
Too bad, so sad. See you later. Goodbye. Continuing on.
No, but I think you brought up a cogent point. If you
We
ever
are
get a chance to look at that 170-page documentation that he was the ensign at the time. No, pardon me. The thesis.
I think he was a lieutenant commander when he wrote it.
Postgraduate Naval School. It's 170 pages plus, but there's a lot of things in there that in 2008, and this is 13 years later, that are still cogent, that need to be discussed. And from where I look up, there's too much people sitting down on things.
I think, and this is just one person's opinion, so please feel free to take it as such, but I think we are very ill prepared in our workflow and our work practices and within our organizational thought process to effectively lead, mentor, motivate younger auxiliaries that are going to look to come in, get instantly trained, get instantly out on the water, and then get instantly recognized for their achievements. Our COVID restrictions have helped in some of that way because we've gone to a lot more online things. I think Commodore Harshfield's online forums for OXOP and instructor training and all these other little tidbits are helping dramatically speed up the process. But when it comes to, like, for example, you have an auxiliary that's a flotilla staff officer that's done an outstanding performance of duty, and you want to recognize them with an auxiliary letter of commendation, they're going to have to wait a year, potentially, sometimes longer, to get that recognition. And by the time they get the recognition, they've forgotten what they did, and it means nothing. And now the intent of that award is completely washed out.
Can I say something that what we used to do in my old flotilla, which was 4-9, when someone did something, we gave them what was called a Bravo Zulu certificate, which recognized what they did and when they did it immediately. We would still go for the accommodation letter, and sometimes up in district or somewhere, they never got anything. That's another pet peeve of mine. But if you do a Bravo Zulu certificate, and we made this up on our own, had the flags Bravo and Zulu, and I can send you
I wholeheartedly agree. I have a very similar thing. The only drawback is I have members with drawers who have Bravo Zulu awards, and it really doesn't mean anything. And there's when you get to wear that uniform and you put that cool ribbon on your shirt, all of a sudden you kind of feel like, wow, I've done something. And you get to always, it's a permanent reminder of that outstanding achievement.
Well, to
And
me,
it drives them to go for the next level.
well, to me, that we should be giving out an award if you, with the old ABS class or now the American boating class. As soon as they pass that class, give them that little, the ribbon is already in our inventory, but it's geared towards the ROTC, Naval and Marine Corps cadets. But why can't we give that? And I sent the letter up the chain. Why can't we make that available to our membership? If you pass that exam, that's instant recognition that you did it.
Yeah, that was something that we did in the RBS world. It's currently sitting, it's working its way up the chain of leadership and management. But we kind of looked at everyone, you know, they created the RBS device. So a lot of folks, which is a very under-earned award in our opinion. You don't really have to do a lot to get the RBS device. It's the cornerstone mission of what we do as an auxiliary. I mean, 120 points, when you break it down, is really fairly easy to get. You'd be surprised how easy it is. And most of the time we believe it's poor logging of what you've been doing. Otherwise you have already earned it. But so you got a member that does it for 2 years. We realized that there was no longevity to try and promote long-term participation in RBS. And so what do? Put stars, do this, that, and we said, why don't we just take what we already have? And so the current proposal that's working through, that's got a tremendous amount of support from what I understand, after 5 years, you get an auxiliary letter of commendation. So you get a ribbon on your shirt. After 10 years, you get an achievement medal. Now you get 2 ribbons on your shirt. After 15 years, you get a commendation medal. 3 ribbons on your shirt. Now all of a sudden you do 20 years, 25 years, that's a lifetime achievement, so to speak, 25 years of earning 120 points consistently every single year for a quote unquote career in the auxiliary. You get a meritorious service award that could follow you out with a retirement award.
Yeah,
and, you know, it immediately got a lot of interest.
Other organizations have something similar. You know, my dad he was a Mason and got a 75-year medal for it. I think that, you know, he really appreciated that he'd been in a Mason for 75 years. And I think we need to.
That's huge.
I agree with you. We need to make it more meaningful.
I mean, one of the things I never want someone to go for an office or go for a job because they're looking for the insignia of office or they're looking for a ribbon on their shirt. Absolutely not. But at the same token, I also believe in rewarding those staff officers that come in the door and shoot for greater than a flotilla level position and then be successful in that job. And, you know, I kind of expect a member when they join the auxiliary to be an FSO at some point. That's kind of like an expect. So you take that job, here's a nice letter of certificate, thank you for your service, appreciate it. But if you step up to division and district and you're trying to really encourage more depth, I mean, because one of the biggest threats I see for our organization when you do a SWOT analysis is we have too many of the same folks sitting in the same offices, and we're not changing hats enough and putting in new faces and bringing in and recruiting new folks. And so for me, from an outside perspective, how can we motivate folks to do that? How can we recognize outstanding achievers, those that step up? And in the military, granted, it's part of the promotion process in the military is awards and decorations.
Right.
But like in the Coast Guard, you get done with a tour. There's usually an end of tour award if you did the job with some level of professionalism. You get done as a flotilla commander. Here's an award that you get to permanently wear on your shirt. Oh, you worked as a division staff officer. Here's an award you get to have. Oh, you were the division commander. Here's a different award. You know, you're a district staff officer. Here's even higher awards, and so on and so forth. But now, mind you, you don't get it just because you held the office. You held it, and you performed in it, and you had measurable objectives that are reasonable. And if you made something better, hey, here it is. And if you really knocked it out of the park, you know, you're the flotilla commander of the year, and the metrics inside your flotilla, you know, weighted for the number of folks you have in your flotilla, increase dramatically. you know what, that particular flotilla commander gets an accolade. You know, I don't know how many awards we handed out last year, but I guarantee you it's not enough.
Hey, Paul, this is Boz here. I'm going to interrupt you there. Guys, it's 18:52. I want to get us back online, but I appreciate the passion and the comments. But if I could ask you all to put yourself on mute, we'll continue on with the last section for tonight on leadership styles. So again, with 36 some odd people online here, I'm going to ask an open question, but feel free to chime in here. Can anybody give me the difference, or even take a stab at it if you're not sure, the difference between coaching and mentoring? And this is a term that gets used interchangeably a lot everywhere, but there is a difference. Can anybody tell me what that is? Anybody want to take a stab at it?
I'll take a stab if you don't mind.
Do it.
I would assume a coach is more of a senior versus junior teacher, senpai versus, you know, sensei type of relationship, whereas a mentor is more of a peer or a senior experienced peer that's bringing you along, but I could be wrong.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Anybody else have any thoughts? Not saying
This is
that.
John. I've got a thought, Boz. The coaching is more hands-on, how you're going to do a specific kind of job or a specific operation. Mentoring is more giving guidance and direction, but letting the member do the work to take care of it.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I would say the mentoring is having someone you respect and using them as a sounding board and getting advice from them. Whereas coaching is more, I think, job or function or position related and helping them to do their job.
I would say coaching is more performance driven. It's designed to improve the professionals on the job performance. Mentoring is more development driven, looking not just at the current job, but beyond. It's a more holistic approach, especially to career development.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I can't see everybody on my matrix here. Who's that speaking?
This was Doug.
All right, thank you, Doug. Don, you got your hand up? I can see you.
Yes, you know, my perspective of coaching, mentoring, I look at a long-term process, you know, develop trust and respect with the mentee, and then coaching is a short period of time that you can make a structure and formal approach. That's my kind of perspective.
All right, thank you. Anybody else want to give their spin on this before I give you the school solution?
Yeah, this is David. I have a thought on it.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
So coaching is empowering the people you're working with to become leaders, to accomplish the goals that they set out, empowering them to make their own decisions. Whereas mentoring is guiding and leading people at their level and helping them to understand the direction that they need to go.
Yeah, fair enough. So I think we had 6 or 7 people chime in here. There is some overlap in what I heard. There's some differences in what I heard, and that's kind of the point of this, that they're not the same thing, first of all. And part of the art form, if you will, as a leader, is to know when to coach versus when to mentor. And that's really what this section is about. So let me kind of walk you through, the school solution. Oop, wrong place. Sorry, guys. Let me see if I can't see my cursor on this computer, so it takes me a moment to find it. Get out of there. Oh, for heaven's sakes. There. All right. Coaching. So in short, and this is a robust topic, but essentially the shorthand version of a coach is somebody who instructs to train. And you hear coaches say things like, what do you think you should do? The characteristics of a coach: positive, enthusiastic, supportive. I'll let you read these. I underline enthusiastic and goal-oriented because I think those are two things that are really indicative of coaching. That doesn't mean you can't have enthusiastic mentors, but part of being a coach and delivering on a mission of being a coach, enthusiasm, goal orientation, and really a clear communicator are really key attributes that I want you to zero in on. They offer support and assistance to those that they're coaching to implement change and desired goals. So it's that I forgot who mentioned this is kind of a short-term gig, short-term horizon. That's exactly right, and it's typically very goal-oriented. Contrast that with the mentor, an experienced and trusted advisor. I heard that phrase knocked around a little bit. And what you'll typically hear them say are things like, here's what I would do. And your mentor, and the reason you're even listening to the mentor is they've got the credibility and the history and the experience to impart on you. And that's a key part of being a mentor in that relationship. Mentoring is typically a one-on-one relationship, where coaching is typically more of a one-to-many. And this notion of knowledge sharing to develop and increase knowledge and competency, more holistic development, kind of a career path, if you will, mentoring, where coaching might be something a bit more near-term and typically a lot more specific. So I'm going to show you a 3-minute video that is going to run you through the 6 areas where these things differ in an attempt to help define these better for you. So let me bring that up and get this baby going.
And Boz, it looks like we can see the PowerPoint, but the videos are not coming up.
You don't see you don't see coaching up there?
No, just the slideshow is all I see.
All right, let me share my whole computer.
It's the same thing on the last video you had.
You guys didn't see the last video?
No. We heard it, but we didn't see it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we just received the audio.
All right, sorry guys. Let me share my desktop. That way you can see all my incoming texts as well. Can you guys see coaching now?
Yes.
All right, awesome. All right, here we go. glad you're able to see that one. And I rest assured that the last video had one slide and it wasn't amazing. So if you didn't take notes, these are my notes from what that video just walked through. And we're gonna break up in sessions here in a minute. And if we want to reflect on this, I can't leave this up on the screen because you'll be in your own breakout sessions. So if you want to take your phone and take a picture of this so you can reference it, that might be a good idea. But I know that was a quick video. It covers a lot of information. But my job here in the next 15 minutes, you'll leave this section knowing precisely not only what a coach and a mentor is, but hopefully how to choose when to be one or the other. Right. So I'm going to take us to the next session. I put together a scenario for you to entertain. And I'll apologize up front. This is a little surface ops oriented. So if there's any questions here, please feel free to ask. But what I will tell you right now, the E Award or Excellence Award is what a boat crew would pursue. It's basically an exercise for a day with a QE where you go through everything from search and rescue patterns to navigation to putting together a P6 pump, pumping water and putting it back again in the proper canister. It's a full day exercise with, frankly, very little opportunity to make any mistakes. In fact, there's a couple mistakes along the way you make and you don't pass. So you have to be essentially perfect for the day. It's intense, and it's really meant to demonstrate, crews that have really risen to the level of excellence. And it's something that doesn't happen very often. And for those of you that aren't familiar with it, that's what that's all about. The other phrase here that I'll mention now before I read this are come-upons. A come-upon is when you're out on patrol, a training patrol or a mom patrol, not a search and rescue exercise, but you've come upon a boat that needs your help. Maybe the battery went out and they need a tow. Maybe end of the day, they're slamming up against the backside of the breakwater. You got to tow them in. It's somebody who you simply came upon. You weren't called out on a search and rescue, but you came upon and you probably hooked them up and had to help them start their motor, or maybe you towed them in as well. So those are the two phrases that may not be familiar to everybody, but let's go through this. And we'll break out here in just a moment. You're an experienced coxswain and have developed a committed crew. You and your crew decide that this year you will make the attempt to earn the highly coveted E Award. The crew's experience level is varied, and you recognize that this will require individual skill improvement across each crew member. In addition, working together at this new level will require a significant practice at home and on the water. In the past, your crew has shown up for regular patrols twice a month and have had their fair share of come-upons. While they have never been called out on a formal search and rescue, you have run them through a few exercises to familiarize them with search patterns and rating protocols. Going forward, you and your crew have committed to go on training patrols every weekend for the next 6 months to prepare for this E Award. As the coxswain, which is the most effective leadership style, coach or mentor, and justify your approach. I'll tell you, in your breakout sessions, if you want to make some assumptions, go for it. So when you come back and talk about what you decided and rationalize your approach, if you want to include those assumptions, feel free to do that. I'm going to give you 15 minutes to do this. This is a pretty robust exercise. I got 10 minutes on the screen. We got a little extra time tonight. So let's take 15 minutes.
Pause. If I can ask, this is John. Can you go back to the prior slide for just a minute?
Sure. Get that phone out quick enough?
I got it. Thanks.
All right, Commodore Hirschfield, if you could break our folks out into their breakout rooms and set the clock for 15 minutes, I'd appreciate it.
All right. We have 4 breakout rooms, and just accept the invitation. And here we go. You still aren't there? Did you get the invitation? I've sent it to everybody.
No invitations, sir.
Are we the leftovers is by default? Is that?
No, they automatically divided them. But,
Your machine needs coaching.
Okay, hang on. Room one.
Commodore, are we at breakout room by ourselves, the 10 of us?
No, everybody should be in a breakout room. Who is up? Oh. There you go. Sorry. All right. Everybody should be in a breakout room now.
Hey, Commodore. Still see you on mute there. Hey, would you be able to put me into all 4 rooms for a couple minutes apiece? I just left room 1.
Okay. So
So I can leave the room and then ask you to maybe put me into a new room over the next couple minutes.
You were in one?
I was in one, yeah. And one other thing I noticed, in the upper right-hand corner, it says remaining time 31 minutes.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on the clock. Okay. I don't know what happened.
All right.
So let me move you to 2. I'll give you a couple minutes and then I'll move you to 3 and so on. What are you doing? For what? Mm. Fifteen minutes. You ready for him to come back?
No, how many minutes have you been? They still seem to be going at it.
They got 4 more minutes.
All right, I'm gonna take a quick bio break. I'll be right back.
Okay, all right.
Do we know what happened to Charlie? Is he doing okay?
Yes, I guess he's sick and doesn't feel well. That's why he's not here. It is kind of weird that he didn't call somebody but
That's not good. Did he get his vaccine?
yeah, he got both of them.
All right, good.
So, and I mean, he sent an email this afternoon wanting the list of everybody that was coming. So it must have been something he ate or something.
Yeah. Well, I got 3 emails from him this morning, so he was going at it.
You what?
I said I got 3 emails from him today, so he's been going at it.
Yeah. So. All right. I'm going to close the breakout rooms and they should come back 60 seconds after that.
I really appreciate you playing the master of ceremonies here, Chris.
It's hard doing a meeting and doing this stuff.
Especially with this many people, it's to carry any kind of conversation. I can't see all the hands. It makes it tougher.
I did it for 2 years and go, it's no big deal. No, it is a big deal. I'm happy to be the guy behind the drape.
Thank you. What is that guy's name? The guy behind the curtain?
Mr. Wizard.
Mr.
Mr. Wizard. Right. They should be coming back.
All right, I see some semi-friendly.
Mr. Oz.
Who's that?
Oh, it's Paul. I was just saying it's Mr. Oz.
Yeah, there it is.
I'm kind of glad to see the large group. It's really nice to see a lot more folks actively getting involved.
Yeah, me too. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Let me get my screen up here. All right. Terrific. Well, I got to bounce around a little bit. Here's how I like to do a debrief. Let's go through the 4 teams. And all I want to hear first is whether you chose mentor or coach. And then we'll come back and once we get that registered, come back and ask you to have a representative talk about how you got there. So team 1, mentor or coach?
Coach.
Team 2?
How do we know what our team numbers were?
John Ross, you were in team 2. Good guess.
Oh, we took a balance. Part of it is being a coach and part of it is being a mentor.
So you chose both?
Yeah.
All right. Team 3.
We pretty much decided most of it was coaching, but there is some elements of mentoring also.
Big C, little M. Team 4.
Probably about 80% coaching and 20% mentoring.
All right, terrific. Team 1, whoever is the spokesperson there, share with the group how you came up with the coaching as your optimal leadership style and why.
Well, I don't know that we selected a particular leader, but I will go ahead and say that generally we were looking at the short-term goal and needing to increase proficiency and needing more of the hands-on. So the predominant style would be coaching. Now, we did also talk about if we wanted to develop one or more of the crew towards becoming a coxswain, then that would involve more mentoring.
Okay. So having gone through this every week for 6 months, taxing yourself, getting prepared doesn't feel like a short-term goal. But yeah, but I think you're thinking about it the right way. Team 2, help me understand how you came up with your hybrid response.
Take a stab at it. Nobody else wants to. For team 2.
Go ahead, Rudy.
Yeah. So, well, we got different perspectives we're talking about, but basically what I had heard out of that, I'm trying to generalize, is that when you're out there, you're actually doing the practicing, you're out there doing the running the search patterns and you're doing all these things, repetitive things over and over. You're like in coaching mode. But then again, you're still developing people, because some people are more advanced, some people are more, beginners. They might need more coaching, and the advanced people more mentoring. But there's always going to be a mentorship during the initial risk assessment in the beginning, and when you do the debrief after doing every monitor. So that's how we came up with the hybrid combination for specific taskings, coaching, overall development, and improvement, mentoring.
So what, just elaborate on the mentor a little bit. When you say overall development, keep talking. What does that look like as a coxswain or a crew in that mentor-mentee relationship?
Okay, well, like I said in the beginning, when you do a risk assessment, everybody has a different perspective, different level of knowledge when it comes out to going out more experience-wise. So everybody has a contribution to make about what they think the risk assessment is. So you evaluate everybody's, and you learn from that. That's that discussion, the overall discussion in the beginning, that risk assessment, and then really in the end, when you come to do the debrief, I mean, you're really sharing information. Hey, how could you improve that? I noticed you did this, and the team mentality goes into play, and the mentor's right there, the coxswain, to say, oh yes, that's correct. That could have been improved this way. You could have been safer by doing it that way. And all the reviews, really, the knowledge really sinks in when you do the debrief.
Yeah, copy that. All right, thank you.
If I could jump in just for a second.
Of course.
We also thought of the mentoring part as being perhaps specific homework assignments, and also towards the end of the 6 months that the team would, still respecting the coxswain, of course, but they would be able to anticipate how things might play out and actually be advanced in terms of their direction and execution of whatever assignment they were on, or evolution.
Okay. All right, got it. Let's go to team 3. That was Rick Ebel's group.
He appears to be on the phone.
Yeah, anybody can represent the group.
Wayne Zalik, Phila Floor 3. We discussed that the majority of it is definitely the coaching from the a coxswain point of view, because you're trying to get that cohesiveness and that group workmanship together to get that E rating, that excellent rating. But also we recognize too that sometimes each individual, there might be some weaknesses that some individuals may have, and thus the mentoring portion will come in to help them get up to their point of excellence, so that all the team together will be excellent together.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Yeah, good commentary. Team 4, David Brown's group.
We've decided again that most of it's going to be coaching skills, or you're out on the water actually doing the training sessions, learning how to do the towing evolutions, the side tows, the long tows, the proper lines to use, the proper way to set up the towing. That's all coaching. Also practicing the radio comms on the water, and the man overboard, the anchoring evolutions, and so on, and getting on and off the dock. On the other hand, there are some areas we felt that would be more of a mentoring aspect, particularly on the charting. When you're having to plot under the pressure, you got 20 minutes to get underway, plot your pattern and everything. You got to learn how to do that pretty much in the classroom. What is the best way to do this? What's the way we found, or this is the way I would do it. This is the way we found it gets the plotting done quickest, and we're able to get some waypoints that we could put on our GPS plotter and get underway more quickly. So we felt there are some aspects of it that be more mentoring approach. And, particularly as somebody else had mentioned, if you're bringing somebody else up as a coxswain, this is the way I would do it if I was going to handle a boat, or this is the way I would approach it if I was doing the man overboard drill. How's the boat going to react, and so on, and anchoring evolution as well. But probably about 80% coaching and about 20% mentoring.
Great. Thank you, David. Anybody else want to chime in from Team 4? All right, good. So good coverage. Like so many of these exercises, there's, quote, no right answer. But I do agree with you that the majority of what goes on here is coaching. what I like about this particular exercise compared to what you might get in a scenario in the business world or in other scenarios, that the coach in this example is kind of like, if you're using a football metaphor, it's not the coach on the sidelines. The coach in this instance is the quarterback. So the coxswain is part of the team. They're integral to making this thing work, but they also bring that mentor experience and here's how I would do it kind of perspective on things. But the task orientation, the repetitive nature, and trying to meet a goal like putting together a P6 pump in 3 minutes or less. These are all very goal-oriented, repetitive tasks that's pervasive throughout this exercise. So very akin to coaching. That at the same time is that secret sauce. Talking to somebody who's been there before, knows how to tie a particular knot in 10 seconds in the dark, in the rain. Here's how I do it, or how to put together a search pattern in 25 seconds as opposed to 25 minutes. That's not stuff you can necessarily teach yourself. A mentor can really help you get through there. So I do think it's a bit of both, but I think most people came out a pretty strong suggestion that this was a coaching leadership style that's most effective. So I think you guys are starting to get the gist here. What I will say about coaching and mentoring in the context of these 4 pillars of enabling others to act. When we talk about empowerment, and there's tactics to do that, we talk about motivation theories and kind of the science behind that, as well as peak performance and really the science behind that. They're easy things to put on paper. They're easy things to discuss, and if you're willing to try, relatively proven methods to implement. Choosing the right leadership style from coaching versus mentoring has so many soft factors. Your style, your personality style, the person you're working with, or the group you're working with. This is probably as close to an art form as any of these pillars are in making this thing happen. And it's a difficult thing to do because it's very easy to rely on what's natural to you and or not think about it at all and just rely on your instincts. But spending some real time thinking through what's really needed here and your ability to step up and adopt one or both of these leadership styles, it could really make the difference between success and failure, or results and extraordinary results. So I think this is the takeaway I want you to have here is not just the definition of the two, but just how important and how practiced. So the greatest leaders on the planet are really good at this, and and they're much better at this than anything else. And you can survive on doing this well and doing this well alone. Getting a couple examples of famous coaches. People think some of these folks are some of the best examples of coaches. And granted, I've stolen the sports metaphor here, and I don't want to overplay this, but you can, if you know anything about these folks, they really do exemplify the character and the principles of excellent coaching. And I'm personally a Tommy Lasorda fan. In fact, my favorite quote of his has nothing to do with leadership. He was once asked about his physique later in his career, and his response was, "I never met a baloney I didn't like." So he's a big fan of mine. On the mentoring side, they're kind of the lost heroes, from my perspective. They don't get a lot of headlines, and that's unfortunate, especially in this day and age. What I will refer to, though, is a Harvard Business Review article. I want to say it's about 5 or 6 pages, and if you want to take this one step further and spend a little time on what great mentors are made of and some of the best practices there, Google this. It's free and it's recent, and I think it's very, very well done. I do have a couple examples of mentors, and again, we don't talk a lot about these folks, and I don't want these names to offend anybody, but the point is there are famous mentor-mentee relationships that really have made people who they are today, good or bad. And while I've never seen Harry Potter or read the books, one of my students pointed out to me that this is a good current mentor example. So to the extent that he was correct, Professor Dumbledore, I guess, was a good example of this. So that's kind of the content there. If any of you, and Ann Chaffee, I know you're on the line. She's very familiar with this, what I'm showing on the screen now. If any of you have been to AMLOC, hopefully you remember the leadership action model. I bring this back because we can apply this idea of when to coach and when to mentor using this leadership action model. And while I don't love this slide, it does, I think, make the point that I want to deliver here. This notion of member focus or a mentor path, that one-on-one, you've got somebody with perhaps all the abilities in the world to get the job done, but lack motivation, or don't know how to apply those skills in our volunteer environment, which we all would agree, isn't business as usual if you've grown up in military or business world or academic world. Very, very different style are required to be successful here. But the point's the same. Somebody that I'm sure you can think of in your unit that's got skills, just doesn't know how to apply them or needs some motivation. That's really begging for a mentor relationship, and would probably be most effective there. And I say probably because there's no absolutes on this stuff. Contrast that with the coaching path with the task focus. You might have somebody in your unit with all kinds of motivation. It's put me in, coach. I'll do whatever you want. Excited to be here. And you really want to take advantage of them. But they may not have the skill, whether it's the navigational skills or the specific, tactical skills to get the job done. You really need to think about how to coach that person to that upper right-hand corner so that they don't get themselves into trouble. So this is just another way to look at this to kind of figure out, when one of these styles might be more appropriate than the other, so that you can become a more effective leader and your folks can deliver on some extraordinary results. All right, the last bonus exercise, it's not an exercise, bonus video. As much as I love the coaching and mentoring when we talk about leadership styles, there's an important piece missing here. And to me, leadership style is much more than just being, a coach or a mentor. The leadership style that you choose, the holistic style that you choose, can really set the stage for the integrity and the character and even the culture of your unit. And it's just indicative of just how important this is, above and beyond all these quote tactics and disciplines and science that we talked about. So I'm going to play a 4-minute video. I'm going to steal one from my Simon Sinek library again. This is a book that he wrote not too long ago called Leaders Eat Last. Military folks in the room, especially the Marines, probably would recognize this phrase, but I think it's extremely applicable here. And to me, kind of rounds out this discussion around leadership style. So let me tee that up and give you 4 more minutes of a video that if you cannot see, somebody please say something.
There's a funny story that goes along with how we came up with the title of this book, and we are all to blame. Here I am writing a book about the importance of working with people, interacting with people, human relationships.
No video, Boz.
No video, Boz.
Interacted.
Hear that?
Voice only.
Every now and then we get on the phone, but it was mainly done through email. Somebody would send a list of their
Nothing's
favorites.
changed. All right, bear with me here. Let me try one more tactic. I'm sharing my entire screen. You guys can see all my stuff at the bottom, all these apps on the bottom of the screen. Yeah?
Not yet.
No.
Bear with me. Let me just reconnect this share.
And now we got your
right, let's try this once more.
You clear your notifications up in the right corner too.
Can you guys see the black screen video?
Yes.
Yeah, just you can start to maximize it now, right?
There's a funny story that goes along with how we came up with the title of this book, and we are all to blame. Here I am writing a book about the importance of working with people, interacting with people, human relationships, and yet the way I and the publisher interacted was we would send emails to each other with title suggestions. Every now and then we'd get on the phone, but it was mainly done through email. Somebody would send a list of their favorite, and somebody would write back, that's junk. I kind of like that one. And it was a labored, horrible process. No one ever, we never agreed. It was just talking at each other. And coincidence, I happened to be walking past the publisher's office and decided to stick my head in and say hello, went upstairs and we sat down, and within, I think, 30 or 40 minutes, we had a title that we all fell in love with. And what you realize is we can tell an idea to someone over email, but you can't interact. And if you think about how ideas really happen, it's not presentation, response. It's interruption and backwards and forwards and battling and saying, no, that's not what I mean. And it's messy. And it's the messiness that cannot happen over an internet connection, over email, because everything is exact over email. It can happen over the phone, but it's so much better in person when you get to see someone's body language and you see the frustration and you try and re-explain yourself. And we told each other stories as opposed to telling each other what we think it should be. And the story that I told was not being able to understand what made the Marines so amazing at what they do. I sat down with a Marine Corps general, General Flynn, actually, who wrote the foreword for the book. And I said to him, what makes the Marines so great? And he looked at me and said, officers eat last. And it sort of struck me that you compare that to the business world and the entrepreneurial world. Entrepreneurs are always told, pay yourself first, look after yourself first. And yet I'm being told by this Marine general that it's the complete opposite. And there's a symbolic gesture, but more importantly, there's an importance to it. There's a photograph I saw, in these Kenya shootings that happened not so long ago. We had the amazing experience that a photographer happened to be in the building. Usually we see the aftermath, and here we now have photographs of the actual shooting going on. And there's one photograph that was in the New York Times that both haunted me and inspired me to this day. It haunted me and inspires me, I should say. And it's the photograph of a mother in the sound of gunshots, lays herself on top of her child. And you see this picture of a mother lying on top of her child, and you realize that's what it is. That's what leadership is. That when there is danger, it's not protecting myself, but it's rather willing to put myself in harm's way to protect another. That's what eating last means. It means that I will give the very essence of life, food and water. I will give it to the person I love first, so that they may live, even if it means I eat less. And that's what officers eat last means. It is symbolic, but it is also very real. And real leadership, real leaders. I've even given up the terminology of good leaders and great leaders. You're either a leader or you're not a leader. That's it. Real leaders, biological, anthropological leaders are that mother who instinctively, without weighing the pros and cons or the bad things that may happen to her, throw herself on her child. That's what leadership is. Do we believe that our leaders would throw themselves on us? If they heard gunshots, if the economy shook, would they quickly throw themselves on us? That's what leaders eat last means. It is very literal. It is very, very literal.
All right, thumbs up. You guys heard and saw that whole 4 minutes. Great. I love that excerpt, and there's a couple takeaways there that I want to highlight. The notion of whether it's design or management can be a messy process, and unfortunately we've been not in personal contact with our folks at all for the last month or so. I mean, Zoom's been great, but I think the emphasis there that personal engagement is really what wins and breaks you through that messy process from a management and a leadership style. So we talked about the Why campaign earlier. That's why I'm so keen on that being done on a one-on-one and a personal basis. That the power of in-person body language, verbal language in the room can't be understated. And the notion of leadership that I love the fact that he says he doesn't even use great leaders or good leaders anymore. You're either a leader or you're not. It's ingrained. It's a biological response. I think is a great way to think about whether you lead from the front in danger or under stress, or appropriately lead from the back when that's appropriate, is a style and a culture that I think is relevant today, as always has been, and helps frankly round out this leadership discussion. So hopefully when you watch this, you ask yourself, what kind of leader are you? Okay, quick recap. So when you become an instructor, you're told that you're going to be working with adult learners. So we tell you what we're going to tell you, we tell you, and we tell you what we told you. So this is that we're going to tell you what we told you part. And just got a quick slide here that encompasses this whole enable others to act. We started out talking about the enable practice itself, and that how important this building relationship and trust is with your unit, and really striving for true collaboration, emphasizing the word true there, with no nonsense, no hidden agendas, etc. That really it's those things that need to be built upon to ever get to this notion of extraordinary results. We talked about empowerment and how important that is, and again, that can be a bit of an art form as well, but it's pretty plain when you feel it. It's pretty plain when you don't. So as leaders, recognize that that's in your hands. We spent some time last time on motivation, and we broke that down to autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And those are kind of the three pillars that need to be there to really get motivation working on your side. And then tonight we covered the psychology of peak performance. Kind of walked you through this notion of flow or being in the zone as a framework or a tool for you to kind of help your people grow in a way that that gets as accelerated and gets them into a zone where they can really do great things on behalf of themselves, the unit, and of course for you. And then we talked about leadership styles, coaching and mentoring, and I kind of call this the art form out of those four pieces, and I still think it is, and it takes practice. But it's also something that you can change midstream. If you find yourself taking on the wrong style and you recognize you should be doing something different, this is one of the easiest things to adapt to and change real time. So this last slide, and I promise it's the last slide I have in here specifically for Commodore Geiger. You can't spend 10 minutes with this guy anymore without him referencing Our Iceberg is Melting. And if that's not a book you haven't read, I encourage you to do it. It's been around for a bit. It's been adopted across all the academic world that I'm involved in and the commercial world as a very well thought out program for change. And essentially, it highlights these 8 steps, and it uses this story of penguins on a melting iceberg and what they go through to impact change and make these things happen. And frankly, that's one of our watchwords this year. So this is certainly part of or relevant and part of what we should be doing. Our discussion is kind of hit on 4 of these 8. So the empowerment piece of it, producing short-term wins, and the key to really moving people up through that zone. The key to that is providing that environment where they're striving for and experiencing those short-term wins. Don't let up, whether you're coaching, cheerleading, what have you. And I added this last section on leadership around culture, because I think that really rounds out the last part of that leadership discussion we just finished. So I wanted you to, at some point, you're going to be asked to, if you haven't already, read this book. I would encourage you to do it, and know that what we experienced together over these last 2 sessions kind of gave you some tools, techniques, frameworks to think about delivering on about half of that process. All right, I would like to finish up by thanking you guys for hanging in there with me. Thank you, Commodore Hartsfield, for your master of ceremonies and the man behind the curtain. You really make this a lot easier for all of us. So thank you so much for that. So I'll open it up for some free exchange. Any questions, parting shots, comments? Now's the time.
Before we get started with that, Mike, I did have an opportunity to talk to the Commodore He wanted me to pass along his apologies for him not being able to be here. He's ill, a little bit under the weather, kind of came on all of a sudden this afternoon. So his apologies. He wanted to thank everybody for being here tonight, and hope everybody will be able to take something away from this really, really good training that Mike has provided us over the last 2 DELA sessions. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, my pleasure. So I'll open it up to any parting comments. Now's your time. Ann, I see a hand.
Boz, very thought provoking. It's so interesting to see similarities in all of the things that we're teaching, and how maybe there's nothing new under the sun, but there are people who know how to present it in new ways that make a difference. And you did so well with that, Jim. I want to thank you. I also have a question. You don't need to answer it. Well, maybe. I want to know how many people on this screen have taken the leadership levels courses. How many people have taken leadership level 1? Not just the exam now, but the whole deal, the whole package. Look at that. How many are up to 2?
Working
that's
on it.
Wonderful. You got to work on it. You got to work on it so much. And I had to go way back to when I first joined back in the dark ages to find a certification that I completed something, but it was there. It was wonderful. I got it and I put it in my package and sent it up the chain. How many people are up to level 3, Boz? And Mr. Fumingo?
Yes.
Oh, Commodore Harshfield and Mrs. Chaffee. Anybody else? Who's up to number 4? Oh, my heavens. Well, I can't go there yet. I only have 3 stripes, but I know what's there. And as soon as I get a 4th stripe, I got to talk to Charlie. Anyway, you guys, I like to have fun and I like to kind of make jokes, but I'm deadly serious.
And
yes,
you don't have to wait for the 4th stripe. District staff officers and aides are allowed to go to OLOC now.
Oh, fabulissimo. Since I used to teach it, I could go to it now. Well, thank you so very much. Then I'll do it. What I was going to say is I really like to have fun and make jokes and tease Jim Pearson about doing underwater stuff, but I'm deadly serious about what a coxswain has to do. And I was so pleased that you did that exercise tonight, Boz. And I thought it went very well in our group. So thanks again.
No, thank you for the kind words. And I mentioned this last time. It's a big shoes to follow, having you teach a couple months ago. So, yeah, like I said, you're an inspiration and a great instructor. So you're benefiting everybody by doing it. So thank you. Anything else? Rodney?
Yeah, very quickly. This is really to all the flotilla commanders who've attended. You know, we ended with our iceberg is melting, which is similar to the who moved the cheese, right? And things have changed for us. We all know that, and especially with the pandemic. And as DCAPs, a lot of the concerns that we have is there seems to be a slight disconnect in terms of district won't let us do this and district won't let us do that. And believe me, that's not the case. And so here's my point. This is something that the flotilla commanders were invited to, and I'm so glad they were. And if you got something out of this, you're part of that message. So at your next, you know, you are part of your division boards, your respective division boards. Please pass the word on. If you liked it, we would love to see greater participation. This is not an event I had any involvement in putting on, but it was exceptional. And I'm sure Boz will tell me if we disagree, but I'm sure he would more than welcome 100% participation the next time we have an opportunity to do that. So thank you.
I second that.
Yeah, thanks.
Don saying that.
Yeah, I would love to keep doing this. You know, this notion of I don't know if you noticed, but the mentor-mentee relationship, whether this is kind of an informal example of that, that's a reciprocal kind of a deal, right? The definition of a mentor-mentee relationship is that both benefit, both learn from each other. So I think this is a one giant, networked mentor-mentee exercise. So in those breakout rooms, you're mentoring and you're getting mentored. So when I teach, I'm trying to pass on some knowledge that I've come across, and in turn, I get great feedback from you guys. So it just gets better every time. So I think that's the magic of these things. And so unfortunately, we couldn't do these in person, but we're making these work on video, and I appreciate you all hanging in there on a Sunday night to do this.
Hey, Boz, can I mention something real quick?
Yes, sir.
Well, if I could put on my DSO hat real quick. So, yeah, I got to figure out which hat I'm wearing when I talk. So, all the division commanders probably or should have received an email from the DSO MT, me, regarding our performance in getting our AP members off and BQ'd. And I think this kind of directly goes back to the coaching mentoring discussion that we just had. 71%, that's the statistic currently district-wide. 71% of everybody that's in the auxiliary right now, of our AP members in the auxiliary in our district, are AP over 6 months. Which means, from an outside perspective, looking at it from a data analysis standpoint, we're doing a very poor job of mentoring that new member coming in the door, somebody who showed that interest, showed that desire to get involved in the auxiliary. We just kind of let them flounder without getting them through their BQ courses, getting them their BQ2, their core training, and their boating safety course. I mean, and these are our basic, what we're here for. So take that kind of information back we learned through the coaching, the mentoring stuff right now, and let's try and get those numbers down. Leslie's really she challenged me with it and reached out and was like, let's see if we can do something about it. I guess our numbers have been fairly static at that 70 to 80% range for several years. And one of the things she says, all right, you're member training and you're a loudmouth, so see if you can do something about it. And so here I am being a loudmouth. And I didn't mean to put anybody on blast. That's not my intention, is to put anybody on blast. But I am a firm believer in awareness. And, half the time I don't think I'll tell you, I didn't know that was a statistic. I didn't know that was an issue going around. And so for me, it was a great opportunity to kind of share that knowledge with the rest of you guys, and maybe down the chain in leadership, and we can re-engage those members and find out, because they're still members, they're still paying dues, get them involved and maybe increase participation and get them doing stuff. And who knows? You never know.
Thanks, Paul. And I've it's not forgotten, I'm on the hook to share the why campaign out to everybody. And to set your expectations, these are just 5 questions. It's very conversational to kind of get you started. It's meant to be done over a cup of coffee or worst case, a phone call, which is probably what we need to go to today. But just to really kind of help to drive out the discussion that you can take wherever you want with your members, but get the discussion started on why are they here, and how do we get you in a place where you'll deliver on extraordinary results and get motivated and contribute in a way that you can be proud of. So I'll get that sent out this afternoon. Is there anything else that you guys need? Shoot me an email. I'll send it to you if you can think of anything, or if you have any parting shots for me that you don't want to share now. I'm always open. I'm here to learn just like everybody else.
Boz, would like to thank you very much. This was a great learning process.
Thank you, Michael. Happy to do it. It's my zone, put it that way.
Thank you, Boz.
And thank you too. Thank you for the invitation, and now for further integration with the leadership. Thank you.
I can saddle up with what Wayne just said. Please keep us in the loop, guys. Please, it's very important. We hear things offhand, rumor control, whatever you want to call it. The more facts and figures we can get from you, it makes our job, to me, makes my job easier.
I have a crazy question regarding the boating safety course. I have somebody that holds a 100-ton captain's license. Would that be considered a suitable building safety course?
Nope. He must take the boating safety course.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna stop it there. We're coming up on 2000 hours. I'm gonna be respectful of your Sunday night. Thank you again. Mr. Ebel, I'll turn it back to you to close the meeting out.
All right, folks. Again, boss, thank you so much. Great job. Really appreciate that. I'm sure we're going to be having another DELA. That would be DELA number 8 in about a month. Be having a conversation with the Commodore about what that's going to look like and who we'd like to have at that meeting. Flotilla commanders, don't be surprised if you get another invite. I got to tell you, it was great to see all of you here, and I will pass that along to the Commodore. We want to continue to develop our leadership in this district, have our succession plans going on at the flotilla, division, and district level. I just can't tell you how important that is for our organization. So anyway, that's about all I have right now. We'll be in touch, and everybody have a great evening. Stay safe, get your vaccines, and you know, let's get moving forward, and hopefully we can get back to work real soon. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. Tell the Commodore we hope that his under the weather illness is minor and that he recovers very quickly.
Will do. I'll pass that along. I'm sure I'll be talking with him tomorrow.
Thank you.
Good night, friends.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night. Thanks,
Thank
Rick.
you.
Good night.
Commodore Marshfield, thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Jim?
Good night. Good night.
Thank you.
Jim? Gone.
Hey, Chris, just wanted to thank you again for the help tonight. I'm just reading through the chat session here one last time.
Okay.
See if there's anything I need to follow up on.
All right. No, it's a great session.
Yeah, great job, Boz. It was great, and it was nice to see all of the flotilla elected folks that chose to show up.
Yeah. I think that was a great call.
I think we need to have the vice too. It's an elected leader. They are elected leaders.
Yeah. No,
and they're going to be the ones that are going to be stepping up more so than the flotilla commanders, or at least they're the ones that we're going to find for the up and coming leadership.
Yeah.
So,
Chris,
people, I'm happy with
it. And I know I'm not asking you to do anything more you already have, but do we have an easy way to identify not just who joined tonight, but their offices, so that we can kind of see what divisions were represented and by who?
By the registration, yeah. I mean,
so I'm not sure. Well, I think we probably had some people that weren't registered join, and some folks that registered that didn't join. I mean,
because I never gave the link out. The only way they could get it was by registering. So I'll run another report, because they could have logged in after 4 o'clock just to get a final count.
Yep. Well, if you can shoot me the roster of the participants tonight, I'll take the time to figure out where they came from and their level. Because if I was Charlie, that's the question I'd be asking.
Yeah.
And then what I'll do on the next one is I will make a question that they have to answer where they're from.
There you go.
Oh.
Okay.
All right, guys, I got a tall glass of bourbon waiting for me.
Well, you go and enjoy that, my friend.
Will do.
Hey,
Always do.
you know what is nice? For once, Rick doesn't have to pick up the tab. Charlie does.
I'm in.
Works for me.
I'm all over that.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Chris, thanks again. Appreciate it.
Hey, I'm sorry. Can I keep you here for one more minute?
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if both of you are on. No, Chris, you were on at the beginning. Mr. Roof took issue with the materials that referenced Steve Jobs and his vision for Apple.
Okay.
I don't know if you got all that, but I don't know if that's going to become of anything. In fact, I'm still struggling to understand how he was personally affronted by that. But I will be taking that up the chain on the Leadership Development Center. Let them know that there may be some political sensitivity out there, and let them deal with it. But I just wanted to make, as a courtesy, you guys knew that, you know, he I don't want to say he took me to task, but he expressed how offended he was that one of the videos I showed referenced Steve Jobs and his purpose vision for Apple as an example of a kind of extended purpose.
Right. Well,
I'm glad you brought that
go
up.
ahead, Chris.
Today, I got spanked by YouTube for using somebody else's video in one of our presentations.
You did for one of mine?
Yeah, the one that we ran last month. I
Yeah.
get a notice today saying that somebody reported it as being a copywritten thing in our presentation, and they have the right to have us pull down our video.
So that video I showed last time, that's in our leadership development. This is right out of AMLOC.
Well, they said if the people complain, they can pull our video off, and then I'll get a strike for copyright infringement.
Okay.
They don't care.
Wow.
Same thing with this one. You know, these couple videos that you ran, they might thank me for that.
So
if they do, I'll go in, edit it, cut those out, and repost.
Okay, let's do that. I mean, these are on YouTube. They're free. They're public domain. So
wow.
No. I thought they were canceling me.
Sorry, Chris.
Sorry.
Boss,
Okay.
just a little insight on
I'll
Don
switch
Roof.
everything over to Vimeo in a heartbeat. 'Cause I got an account with them too.
A little insight about Don Roof. I got to spend a year with that man in Division 4 when our immediate past Commodore whipped me and sent me over there. No, he wasn't even vice flotilla commander or anything at that time, and he's very opinionated, and I just, I got to the point I just let him say what he needed to say and say, you know what, Don, thanks, I'll take that under consideration.
Yeah. Well, I tried to do that today. I
Yeah.
hope successful, but the funny part is if he was really listening, and I have no idea, I can guess where his politics are, but that last video I showed of Simon Sinek talking about officers eat last or leaders eat last.
Right.
The Marine Corps general that he was referencing is General Flynn, who's been in the news lately. Yeah.
Well,
so maybe that was okay, but I can't quote Stephen Jobs.
Well,
this isn't going to be recorded, is it, Chris?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
It says recording up in my corner.
I stopped it.
Yeah, it says